Before I start the video, I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreons who have been supporting my channel. If you would like to check out my Patreon and receive early access to some very exciting videos coming soon, then please click the link in the description below. Hello there and welcome back to the Just a Nerd podcast, and today, for episode 10, I am joined by a very special guest. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is George Sheard, and I do YouTube stuff sometimes.
Well, welcome to the podcast, George. It is an honor to have you on here. So throughout the podcast, I like talking to guests about how they got into Doctor Who, what Doctor Who means for them, and how Doctor Who kind of sparked their creative drive. So to start this, we need to go back to the beginning of your Doctor Who, when you became a fan of the show. So when did you first become a fan of Doctor Who?
It's a story I love to tell. It's as someone of my, so I'm not to age myself, but I'm 22 currently. So being brought up in the early 2000s, at such a young age. I wasn't really into the wilderness days. You didn't really see that sort of stuff, especially when I was aged like 3 or 4. Some people did, lucky them. But for me, my first introduction and my earliest memory of Doctor Who was Dalek in series 1.
Cool.
I remember seeing my dad watching it on TV, and he recalls this story as well. Of he was watching it, and I came in and watched a bit of it. And as soon as the Daleks started hovering up the stairs, I just screamed and ran up the stairs and ran out. And then about a year later, he got me to actually watch the whole series, and I was able to understand it a little bit more. But I can't blame my 4-year-old self for running out screaming at a Dalek. I think that's quite understandable. But yeah, that was the start of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your first episode was, a very iconic episode of that, the reintroduction of the Daleks. So a year later, then, did you start with Rose, and then did you continue straight on to series 2, or did you have to wait a little bit until you got into continuous viewing?
That's a good question. From what I remember, again, I was only about 5 at the time, but I do have very vivid memories at the time of my dad. I think he got both. So I think series 2 was out by this point, and he got both series 1 and 2 on DVD.
Yeah,
and then we watched them from Rose. My dad grew up watching. He was a Tom Baker fan growing up. And he watched Peter Davison and kind of stopped watching around Colin Baker. I think he just kind of got to a point where he moved on to different shows and other things and different films. But when it came back, he was very interested in it. I think wanted to get me into it. And he certainly did that. So yeah, I think I watched the DVD ones. We watched them sort of before, and I think just before school some days we sort of watched the episodes through series 1 and series 2. And I vividly remember, I think the first episode I watched not live, because we never watched it on Christmas. That's a bit of a thing in my family. We don't watch Doctor Who episodes. We don't watch anything on TV on Christmas Day. We do it Boxing Day. I think enough. Boxing Day 2006, Runaway Bride, I think is the first one I saw around the time it actually released. But I have vivid memories of watching not just the first 2 series of Doctor Who, but also like The Confidential, getting the figures that Christmas. I got my first character options figures that Christmas. Doctor Who Adventures magazine. Nice. I started to be very obsessed with it around that time. Once I watched those 2 series, it was my first experience at binge watching, I think, aged 5.
Well, I mean, you had a lot of content, just from those first 2 series, with series 1 and 2. Some really good episodes as well to get through. But obviously, you said that it took you a while to end up watching it live, and I'm guessing the first episode you watched truly live on the day must have been Smith and Jones. Is that a good
Probably.
assumption?
I don't have any memories of watching it, but I think almost definitely series 3. I have a lot of memories of sitting like at the sofa live watching it, and so Smith and Jones probably was the first instance of that, I'd say.
Yeah. No, again, that's a really good episode as well. But I'm curious, because you did mention about your dad being a fan of Tom Baker. Did you watch any of the classic Who around that time, or was that a little bit later on?
A lot later on, actually.
Oh,
so
okay.
for me, and I've kind of I not said it proudly, but I've never hidden the fact that I've not seen that much of Classic Who, and I've always wanted to, and I've always been interested in it, and
Yeah,
like learned stuff about it, but not necessarily watched a lot of it.
yeah,
Um, and although my dad grew up on that, like it was never his desire to sort of go back. He was more of a Star Trek fan, so he was more trying to get me into that, and I had no interest. So for me, I think I sort of had a knowledge of it, and I was interested in it, but I wasn't. I don't think I went back and watched a classic episode of Doctor Who until like a lot later. I'm trying to work out like when that probably would have been, but um, honestly, maybe when I was like 16, 17, maybe like
wow,
genuinely quite a while before. And it's like, you know, I was a kid with simple tastes, and I
yeah,
think the old TV format didn't really appeal to me. And then when I became more of a Doctor Who fan, then I wanted to get back, you know, more into it and kind of follow that sort of stuff a bit more. But back then, it was all just about like, oh my god, David Tennant's the best thing I've ever seen.
yeah.
So that was kind of more my speed for quite a few years.
No, that's really cool to hear. And I guess this follows on to the next segment of the podcast because you've obviously watched a little bit of Classic Who. So I feel like you might have an easier time answering this.
Mm.
So if you had to pick one episode from Classic Who and New Who is like like a favorite, what would it be and why?
The classic I'm gonna have to think about, but a New Who, there's quite a lot of episodes that I love, and I just kind of like circle around them.
Yeah.
I think if you mind me just do I have to give one, or am I gonna just rattle some off?
Well,
Because I
you can
can.
just throw them at me, you know?
I get World Nothing Time and the Doctor Falls is brilliant. I
Yeah.
think Heaven Sent, obviously, you know, it's a bit of a boring answer. The God Complex is one that I think is so underrated and it has a really gorgeous like vibe to it. So I love that episode. Um, uh, but I think one that sticks out to me, like as a story that I've always gone back to and always loved, and not being able to exactly sort of pinpoint why I love it. Maybe nostalgia, maybe like childhood fear of it. I don't know, but a Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways for me. Something about that story is just gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
the way the Daleks are so relentless. It's not over the top. It's not too cheesy, but it's very grounded and emotional, based in like the companion story, all of the human characters, and more that we don't see that was like heard about are killed in that episode. You know, that entire station of people is killed by the Daleks. The Emperor Dalek is such a phenomenal presence, and Eccleston is absolutely at his best. So I think even as a kid, it terrified me but excited me. And when Rose comes out the TARDIS and, you know, destroys the Daleks, I think it's that sort of stuff, you know, age 5, watching that just sort of imprints on you, and I don't think you forget that sort of stuff. I don't know if there's anything else. I think there's probably there's always end up being one like per series that I love. I think, yeah, and Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, love those episodes as well.
Yeah.
So underrated, and I love that two-parter. Classic Who. Now I'm having to sort of delve into what I've actually seen. So I have definitely seen the entirety of season 12 and season 26. And I know I love those. And then since then, it's just like a smattering of other random stories. God, I don't want to be boring and say something like Genesis of the Daleks, because that's such a.
I mean, like if that's the one that you enjoy.
You know, I think I actually think the Daleks, William Hartnell, I think going way, way back is one that probably one of the more recent ones that I've watched from Classic Who. But in terms of an impact, you just sense so much from that, like so much fear, the music, the sound design. There's something really beautiful about it and something really inherently scary. I don't think it's the best Classic Who story I've seen. I think the Seventh Doctor has some fantastic stuff. I think the Five Doctors is fantastic. I think it's just so much fun and encapsulates what an anniversary special should be. It shouldn't be taking itself too seriously. It can just be fun, you know. But yeah, I think something like the Daleks, like going back to like William Hartnell, Black and White, just immaculate vibes, just in terms of sound design, cinematography, everything. It was very simplistic but very powerful, and that being the first Dalek story is impressive. But yeah, there's still so much I need to see from Classic Who that it's sort of a really difficult one to answer. But yeah, I think that's excellent. And I quite like I quite like Legopolis as well. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's like I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I don't know the public opinion on that, but it was a really interesting one to jump onto, especially around the time of like Series 12 with the Master coming back and everything as well. It's
Yeah.
super interesting. But yeah, I think off the top of my head, that's probably what stands out. But I'm probably missing one.
Well, I mean, the Dalek episode from the first one during Hartnell's years, yeah, was certainly an interesting one. And it's weird to think that obviously, yeah, that episode was written with the Daleks just being a one-off monster. It's just
Yeah.
like written as oh yeah, they're not going to become some iconic monster that's going to basically become a big part of British culture. You never thought,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, there's so much lore built into that story as well
yeah,
that is still in the show now and still used now, and I think that's so like interesting. And yeah, there's something about this again for me. It's the sound design, that sort of like that infamous sort of Dalek heartbeat sound, and the general atmosphere on Skaro in terms of that sound design and set design, and everything was just brilliant. So yeah, no choice but to respect that. Honestly, that sort of cuts deep.
Well, I also just want to say as well, George, don't worry, I am also kind of in the similar boat as you with Classic Who. My entry into Classic Who, yeah, I watched a couple of the DVDs beforehand, but with the collection box sets, that's where I've mainly been jumping on with. So
Me too. I mean, I think I started with a few DVDs way back where I think I probably started probably towards the end of Capaldi's era because of like, the Mondasian Cybermen coming back. I had to see the 10th Planet.
yeah,
I don't know if that's the first one I watched. It actually might have been, to be honest. And then from there, yeah, collection box sets. I didn't start collecting them at first, and then I was like, you know what, I feel like I need to. And I've got all of them. I
yeah.
still haven't seen most of the seasons, but like they're there and they will be dipped into from time to time. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the latest one. Watching the new version of the Five Doctors.
Oh, I
I
can't
feel
wait
like
for
that's
that.
gonna
Yeah,
be.
that's exciting because I'd like to know that as well. So knowing there's going to be like a bit of a sort of CGI master and a new sort of like sound mix, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. But let's move on to the next segment of the podcast, and let's put a little bit more focus on your YouTube channel because you've been doing
Yes.
YouTube for a while, like 10 years, I believe.
Yeah, it probably will have been 10 years since I started it. Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
So, what was the inspiration for starting off your YouTube channel? Like, what inspired you to start making videos?
It's a big question. There is a lot of different factors that went into making this channel. If you dig deep enough, and you can't really dig that deep now because I've been very clever in privatizing a lot of those old videos. But yeah, I didn't do like Doctor Who has always been content that I've done throughout the channel,
Yeah,
more so when it started to do well and it was popular around Jodie starting and filming for Doctor Who for the first time. But the channel started really just because like I was 12 years old and I wanted to make content like I wanted to sort of make the content that I enjoyed,
yeah.
but for other people. And obviously, being a naive 12-year-old, I thought, yeah, I've got the facilities to do that on like the worst laptop you've ever seen in your life. But honestly, stuff like the Yogscast were a huge inspiration for me. I wanted to do sort of gaming stuff. I did a bit of Doctor Who here and there, but not as a huge thing. I never thought reviewing would be my kind of thing. I was more just about playing something and reacting to it. I later did more sort of like Five Nights at Freddy's as well, was a sort of era on the channel because that was
Blimey.
popular. And then yeah, Doctor Who sort of did better, and it was such a great point because it was like I feel like I can talk about something I love and it does well, So it's a nice balance of things.
So, with the original name that you had, Ace
Mhm.
Creeper, what was
Yeah,
the meaning behind that name? Was there like,
it's it's a really funny one because it's like it's such an anticlimax. There's no like conspiracy theory level things in there. It's very much when I was 10, I got an Xbox 360 and I had a terrible username, which I think was Rural Blowfish, which as you can
oh
imagine on Xbox Live, not an ideal name.
no, oh no,
So I was like, I want to change my name and I'm going to change it to something really exciting and different. I'm going to change it to Electric Death Creeper 90,000. And that was too many characters. So I shortened it to Assassin Creeper 90,000. And that was still too many characters. So I settled on Ace Creeper 9000, which ended up being the channel name. And then I think I watched I think it was the channel name because that was just the easiest. It was like my username. So on video games, that would just be my username. So it made sense to call it that. And then I think I watched a video from Tom Scar, a YouTuber who's sort of relatively well known in the UK community. And he made a video of like how to YouTube. And I remember one of the key things he said about that was when you're making like a channel name, take the numbers out of it because it's harder to remember. And I was like, God, that's a really good idea. So then I changed my channel name from Ace Creeper 9000 to just Ace Creeper. And then the channel started doing well and I didn't want to change it. It was something kind of sticks, when you pick something and then something does well, you're not going to risk the performance of your content by changing the title of your channel, because then people are like, who's this guy? Why am I subscribed to this guy? I don't know who this is. I know Ace Creeper, but I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, of course. But that branding obviously did, like you say, when you started doing Doctor Who stuff and that kind of took off, you were getting more involved with the Doctor Who community. You did some collaborations as well with the likes of Crispy Pro. You did an MCM panel as well, I believe, with Jack Reeves.
I was gonna be, but I couldn't make it.
Okay,
there was a big mix up with plans, unfortunately. But yeah, I was really looking forward to that as well. So I was a bit disappointed to miss out on that. But yeah, there are some fantastic collaborations over the years.
And you've done a variety of videos as well. You haven't just done news and theories, like theory videos as well, but you've also done some pretty big lore videos, like you did the history of the Doctor and the Master.
Yeah.
So I want to know what's been your favorite video to do on your channel, or some of your favorites if you got any.
It's a good question. I think something I've always tried to push myself on with the channel is always to try and do stuff, things that are different and different from what I would usually do anyway. So as you say, stuff like the history of the Doctor, the history of the Master, that was very different from anything else I'd done on the channel before. Just why I did it.
Yeah.
That, and I was in lockdown, so that was nice. I probably would say that video. It's the history of the Doctor it's a top performing video on my channel. It's a video that took a lot of time, had a really a script put together, a lot of animations, a lot of creativity, and I really felt like I was putting something into that. Some YouTube videos, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well. Sometimes when you just want to get something out, there's always videos that you think, oh, that you look back and go, that could be better. That was just kind of rushed out because and I'm not afraid to admit that. But that video was months in planning, and I was super happy with how it turned out, and I'm super happy with how it performed. And yeah, it's a shame I couldn't really do anything more like that, because I think that was very much a thing of just a mix of things, a mix of me wanting to do something creative and being at peak with loving Doctor Who, and then also being in lockdown as well helped with that. Other videos, I mean the project that I did for so I did this sort of black and white noir edit thing of World Nothing Time, and
I remember
that. A feature length cut of that, and that was it's not on YouTube for copyright reasons, but it's out there and there's trailers and stuff on YouTube, so I'm counting it. It's a project that I was super, super proud of and worked with some amazing people on it. Darlakim and O'Chenery as well, who worked on the opening titles and the music and everything. So to collaborate with some really talented people and put this thing together, which is just a lot of fun and felt very creative and different. Again, it's all about that sort of stuff. Those are the videos I'm always most proud of. I love my episode reviews, but the videos that I'm probably most immensely proud of are those sorts of things where it's a bit more out there. I think ranking every Doctor ever is another favorite of mine. Filming in front of a green screen, writing a bit of a sort of comedy based script was fun. I'm trying to look myself and see what else I've done. I've done interviews with some amazing people, audio drama kind of things, little audio drama shorts. I'm proud of everything I've done, but I think those stand out particularly.
No, that's really cool to hear. And obviously, with Doctor Who, you as well as a content creator, you've been able to, mix it up in terms of the variety of content that you were able to do, keep things fresh and also keep yourself entertained. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then, it's going to feel more like a chore.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, when you decided to rebrand from Ace Creeper to using your own
Mm.
name on YouTube, what was behind that decision, if you don't mind me asking?
No, it's a good question. So basically, when I did it, I can't remember exactly when I changed it, if I'm being completely honest. I don't remember what the situation was at the time, but I knew that I was trying new things. And with YouTube, as just said there, like I tried to do as many different things as I could with Doctor Who and with just my own sort of creativity and just, I'm fascinated in media. That's what I kind of want my career to be. So I've always strived to try and create content that's sort of different and a bit out there. And yeah, reviews are sort of standard and boring, but I always want to try new concepts and new ideas to sort of test the waters, see what people respond to, see what people don't respond to, and that's cool. But I think with the regularity of it, Doctor Who YouTube became it got to a point where I kind of felt like I'd done everything I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. And like I haven't uploaded much. I haven't uploaded really in the last year, but I've kind of like I'm happy with that. Like I think I got to a point where I was content with everything that I'd done.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, I don't feel like I can do like step it up, do more. And then obviously I finished uni as well.
Mhm.
And got a full-time job. So time just became less. And I thought, you know what, like I'm happy to sort of put this era of the channel sort of to bed and be like, this is done. And I'm gonna come back to it in the future, but it won't be under Ace Creeper, it'll be under my own name. I looked at channels like Josh Snares. And I thought I want my channel to not just be a hub for any Doctor Who content that I do or any streaming content that I do, but also for stuff like short films, just keep my mic there, for short films, for other projects, anything that I want to do and promote and get out there and test the waters of, it'll be on that channel. Because it would be stupid if I was like, okay, I'm done with Doctor Who, I don't want to do like weekly Doctor Who content anymore. I'm just going to leave the channel and make a new one. Like I was like, I will just rebrand this and just make it a bit more basic and understandable. And you know what? Like people unsubscribe. It's always the same when you change the channel name, you change the branding, you don't upload for a little bit. People do. But it was never about that for me. It was always a case of like the creative side of it and what I want to put out there. And of course, it's great when people see it. But yeah, I just wanted something where I could look back and go, okay, yeah, it's not something of the past. Whereas for me, Ace Creeper, that branding and all that sort of thing feels like a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of so prevalent with me for that Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who and that posting weekly Doctor Who content theories and all speculation and all these different types of videos. For me, because I was kind of coming to the end of that and not able to post weekly content or regular content anymore, it was like, instead of it being a channel that's just kind of archived and just kind of left in the dust, it's sort of something that's still active, but not the same as it was before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a very long-winded answer. I'm aware there's a lot of waffling in there. You can tell I didn't prepare it, but it's like that's all the thinking
Well,
was.
it's very
a case
detailed.
Of, I was like, well, what can I change it to that I'm not gonna? I don't want to change it to like movie reviews. I was like, because I might just change it in like a month's time. This is my name. Everything I make creatively that I want to show off and put out there on a public platform will be on that channel, whether it be Doctor Who or otherwise. It will be on there, and I think that's a better testament to something that I'm proud of than something that I look back on and go, oh, that's not me anymore.
So since that rebrand then, where it's become more personal, do you feel like you've it's because like as you said, you've done Doctor Who, you've done streaming and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's a lot easier for you to just say, okay, hey everyone, I'm going to be doing this today, or I'm going to be doing this on that day, and you don't feel like you've got to please like a certain audience or something like that?
I think that there comes a lot of things with it, and I accepted that when I did that and when I stepped away. The YouTube algorithm is tough; it's relentless, and if you don't upload like once every 2 weeks, once every week, like your content doesn't get recommended as much, it doesn't get seen as much. And the more details you change, the less you try and purposefully optimize your stuff, it doesn't do as well, and that's fine. And I was content with that when I changed it. So in my mind, I'm very aware that it's not going to have the same following. Like if I upload a Doctor Who review now, it's not going to have the same amount of traction than it did 2 years ago, a year ago, because it's a different time, a different context, and I haven't been active in like really a year almost since the beginning of this year. So yeah, it's for anyone who does want to stick around. And if new people join, great. If old people don't really fancy it anymore and fancy going somewhere else and not watching it, absolutely fine as well. In my mind, it was always, again, just to have a hub of where I can post the things that I'm happy with and proud of and want to put out there. Without it being like, oh, this is not a Doctor Who channel anymore. Oh, I've got to do something. It's yeah. I like to think of it as, if I want to do something, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel a drive for any sort of like monetary value or like views or subscribers. Like there's no, for me, like I love that people still stick around, and it means so much when I see like a live stream that I do, and there's people in the chat who I recognize from like 2-3 years ago. It's so heartwarming, because I don't expect it.
Yeah,
and that's it. Is I'm happy with that, because it's I'm content with people moving on and doing different things, because it's not the same content that it was. That's fine. But all it is for me is, I don't care if it gets 2 viewers, or if it gets 10,000.
Yeah.
It's just something I want to put out there, and whoever wants to watch it, hopefully they enjoy it. That's that for me.
Yeah, well, that's a completely fair answer to that question regarding the rebrand. But I've got to ask, yeah, you have posted some Doctor Who stuff since the rebrand, and we are heading towards a new era now. There's talks of no more gap years. There's going to be spin-offs. There's going to be a lot more Doctor Who stuff being pumped out there. If that, because life is a very crazy thing. You never know what's around the corner. But
exactly.
if you found yourself in a position where you're like, oh, I'm really liking, Doctor Who a lot more, like, I'm not saying that you dislike Doctor Who, but say if you get like more, passionate about it in that way again, would you jump back into not necessarily Ace Creeper 2.0, but like, going into that old style of like, okay, I'm going to be doing a theory about, the 60th anniversary specials, or I don't know, is David Tennant going to be the 17th Doctor or something like that? Just as a wild example.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a one that I get asked like a few times when people are like, "Oh, you're going to make Doctor Who content again when 60th comes out, or when Shooty just like starts as the Doctor?" The answer is I don't know, and that's the complete honesty. Is that I things do change all the time. Life changes, and I will do what I kind of want to do, and at the moment I think like it's already kind of started to happen a little bit, where like I know that I haven't got the time I haven't got the free time now to put 110% into planning, scripting, editing videos. So what I do instead is I stream. I do Twitch stuff, but now I started off by going, oh well, I can do a little pre-stream on YouTube, get some viewers across and show them that I do Twitch now. But I am working on something Doctor Who related now for YouTube, which will hopefully be like a weekly bulletin kind of thing, like a weekly kind of news update kind of thing. And that's simply because I am enjoying getting excited for Doctor Who again. And that's simply it. Is that like I started the job that I'm in now. I finished uni around the time of the end of Jodie's era. And Power of the Doctor, and then there was a huge gap, and then that huge gap is happening, and then now it's starting to build up a little bit again, and it's exciting and it's cool. Now, I don't think I'll go back to the point of making reviews in the old way that I used to do. I think what I'll probably do is, because I don't care about like getting as many people as possible to watch the videos, I'm more than content with waiting till like midweek and doing like a hour-long live stream and doing a little casual review on there, talking to people about it, seeing what they thought about it. So for me, the future, if there's a sort of Doctor Who thing happening, it's going to sort of rear its head in that way. And you never know, maybe a year down the line, I'll be like, yep, I want to start making YouTube content again. But I don't see it happening now. But if you deem content as making edited videos on YouTube, then that probably not. But if you deem content as me putting out something Doctor Who related, then that is happening. It's happening every week anyway, but it's going to become more as we get closer to the 60th, because, not out of any pressure, I feel excited for the show again, and I'm excited to talk about it. And, I'm not embarrassed just because I don't make regular content anymore. I'm not embarrassed of anything that I've done in the past. I'm super proud of it. a bit of an insight, and I thought it was a little bit of an interesting thing, is that like with the reviews, I don't know how any other Doctor Who YouTubers make their reviews after the episodes. I would consider mine to be clinical, but I don't know, like busy but clinical. It's a weird
Yeah,
mix in a sense of where since the beginning of series 11, every episode of Doctor Who that comes out, I'll watch it. And as
yeah,
soon as the credits roll, as soon as the next time trailers come out, I'll run upstairs. I'll have a thumbnail ready. I'll have a camera there. I'll have a microphone. I will frantically record something completely off the bat, no script, no real planning, and then edit it together with a few promo photos. And you can
yeah,
see that. And that's great. And it worked for a while. But when you've done it for, I don't know how many episodes this is in the Geordie's era now, like 20 something probably, you stop enjoying the show as
mm,
much, right? You don't enjoy the show as much. And I mean, maybe that's across the board for a few people, but because you're in that zone where you're like, right, if I want to get the most audience like interaction off this video, I need to act quick. I need to do it as quickly as I can. And my aim, and I think by the time we got to Flux, I was able to, from the end of the episode airing, I was able to get a video out by the end of the next hour, which is great, but very tiring and
yeah.
super
Well, it
time
is.
consuming. The Halloween Apocalypse, when that came out, that was on Halloween itself. Or was it? It was around that time. But
Yeah,
I was at a Halloween party immediately after. So I watched the episode, I ran upstairs, recorded a review, edited it, and then while it was rendering and uploading, I was getting dressed up like for Halloween, and then was immediately out the front door. That sort of turnaround, I feel like I can't enjoy it and
yeah,
consume the show anymore in the way that I used to when I was a kid. Or even just a few years ago, because there's a pressure there. But now there's less of a pressure. I probably will review it, but not immediately after the episode airs. It would be nice to sort of go on Twitter, see what people are saying about the
yeah.
episode, see the interactions. That's kind of what I miss. But you never know. Maybe I'll still run off to my computer to do a live stream immediately after. Who knows? I don't know what I plan on doing, but standard reviews and that sort of thing became tiring, and it was one of
Yeah.
the big reasons I moved away from it, as well as just not having anything I wanted to do with the channel as much anymore. Plus, Jodie was leaving and Jimbo was
Yeah.
leaving, and it was sort of like that's the era where my channel's sort of done well, and I'm kind of happy to sort of leave that and then do other stuff in the future. Still talk about Doctor Who, but like let someone else do the big stuff and the exciting content if they want to. That's my mantra. I've had my sort of 3 or 4 years of it.
No, again, that's completely fair. But it is nice that you still have the passion there to do Doctor Who content in other forms. And you have said a lot that you do live streaming on YouTube and Twitch. The Doctor Who stuff on YouTube and Twitch for the video games. And I've got to ask, because I'm a gamer myself.
Yeah.
I would love to know what's been the best game to be having, to have streamed on your channel so far.
That's a good question as well. Full of good questions today, man.
Thank you.
That's a good one. So far, because I did a bit of Twitch last year and then I sort of stopped, and then since in the last few months I kind of brought it back, and I've managed to keep it weekly, which has been super exciting to be able to do it regularly because people know when it's happening. The best stream I did, probably was and not because it's a good game to stream. I mean, or maybe it is a good game to stream. I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's, right?
Oh,
And there's
okay.
a reason for that. And because for some reason, so many people tuned into that stream. So there were interactions galore. Like people were actually chatting about it. They were interacting with the stream, with the game, myself, and that was really exciting. It was also the anniversary of the game. I think it was the 9-year anniversary of the game, so it felt like a bit of a special thing. And also, it was a game that I'd wanted to revisit because I had a lot of nostalgia for it and
Yeah.
hadn't played it in like a good 7 years or something. So it was very nostalgic. A lot of interactions and overall just a really good stream. And I think I finished the game on the hardest difficulty as well, which is something I never was able to do as a kid. So it was a very nice stream. It was not like a multi-part story or whatever, but it was a really nice one singular round stream. But there are many games that are great. I enjoy playing The Last of Us on stream. That got a lot of great interactions as well. Portal 2 played recently. God, what else we played recently as well? Crash Bandicoot as
Oh
well.
yeah. Classic.
Love Crash Bandicoot. yeah, there's plenty of great games, and I'm hoping to sort of just find more that are within my niche. I'm still experimenting. At the end of the day, like I'm
Yeah.
relatively new to Twitch, so I'm kind of seeing what I like to play. Do I like to play longer games that last 20 streams, or do I want to play something that's shorter and lasts like a couple streams at most? So yeah, there's a lot there, but I think that stream in particular is very special to me for some reason. It was just a good stream. And when you come away from a stream feeling like, yeah, this is why I do it. Like
Yeah.
that's good. That's a nice feeling.
Yeah, certainly, because like at the end of the day, you're streaming something because you enjoy it, and
Mm,
getting, I guess, rewarded for enjoying something. Yeah, like as you said, that's a really good feeling.
mm.
Are there any games? Because you mentioned that you were looking at some. Are there any that spring to mind that you'd like to experiment with in the future? Like any new releases, maybe, or
I know down the line I'd love to do another Minecraft playthrough because it's a game that again, like I started the YouTube channel on. My name was Ace Creeper for Christ's sake. Like it's embedded in me from a kid. I just know that I'd want to have a more of an active following before I do that because I know it would be a sort of longer one and it would be one that I'd want to visit in a very nostalgic sense. In the same way that I did Five Nights at Freddy's, but with that you can do that in one stream.
yeah,
Minecraft you can't really, so it's sort of like yeah, it's that sort of thing I'd probably want to do. Other games I've considered a lot. I've considered FIFA, even though I haven't got a copy of it that I can play
Blimey.
on stream yet. I do play that a lot of my free time, so I could see that being quite funny for people, not for me, because I'm shit at it. But yeah, games like that. I think story games are interesting so long as they're not too long. I want to kind of experiment with that sort of thing. Just anything that I think horror games are good as well. I think anything that viewers can interact with, and that's the wonderful thing on Twitch with your overlays and stuff. Viewers who are watching the stream can, use channel points that they earn by chatting and redeem like a funny thing to happen on screen. Which playing a horror game again, like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's encouraging the viewers to almost distract me and get me to lose, which
Yeah.
is super engaging and also just so annoying. But it's fun and it's that sort of stuff I kind of want to experiment with. So do I try another horror game? Yada yada yada, and just try more of that sort of thing. But yeah.
No, there's some exciting examples there, especially Minecraft as well. That's a game. Well, in my case anyway, like I love playing it, but I
Mm.
won't pick it up for ages. But when I pick it up, I can't get enough of it. Like I,
Yeah, you sort of take I think that's also the idea, which is quite funny. I mean, it was done as a meme, but it was definitely like true in the sense of like you never you never quit Minecraft. You just take breaks or something like that, or
yeah,
you don't finish it. You just like pause. It's sort of like a thing of it's one of those games you just leave for 2 years and then come back to, and then it's like, oh wow, you have to do another playthrough. So yeah, I'll get to it eventually. When I feel like I've got enough people who sort of regularly watch and regularly interact, where it becomes an experience, then because Minecraft, once you do it, you don't really want to do it again and start another survival or whatever. And I've done it before on stream and it didn't go as well, so I kind of want to wait a bit longer before doing that. But yeah, any sort of games like that as well. Yeah.
oh, really cool. But before we wrap up the portion of the podcast regarding YouTube, do you have any advice for Doctor Who YouTubers and streamers as well?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, if there's advice for streamers, I'm also all ears. um, I I don't know. I don't think my advice is like I don't think cynical is the right word, but I think I'm very much like I think you just got to do it for yourself, not for anyone else.
Yeah,
As soon as you stop enjoying it, it will be a chore. It will be a job. No matter how much money you earn from it, no matter how many viewers you get from it, how many subscribers you get from it, it's not worth it if you're not enjoying it. So make the content that you want to make, but balance it with obviously what you think people want to see. Um, have fun.
yeah,
Also, it's not the end of the world if something doesn't do too well. It's a it's an experiment. YouTube is a constantly fluctuating algorithm, so just play with stuff. Thumbnails, practice Photoshop and Paint.net or a free alternative. Like thumbnails are super important.
yeah.
Titles are super important. Like those sort of things are what drag people in. Um, yeah, and I guess just like be nice. Like, don't be a dick.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many people in the Doctor Who, and the Doctor Who community is rife with it as well. But there are so
Yeah,
many people who just argue, and it's sort of really toxic. And I was always happy that I kind of stayed out of that for the most part.
yeah,
But you never know. You might hate someone. And if you're public about that, you never know that they might overtake you in subscribers next year, and then you are done. Because
yeah,
then who's gonna, they're not gonna collab with you anymore. You sometimes have to bite your tongue, and you have to just sort of, don't be mates with everyone, but sort of be friendly. You're all in this together. You're
yeah,
trying to make it on Doctor Who YouTube or just YouTube in general. Work with people in your community, collaborate, do fun things. Just try and experiment, think outside the box, have fun with it. But yeah, that bottom line is, again, just enjoy it. I don't think there's a special formula to getting subscribers and views and everything. I don't think there is at all. I think it is just about having fun.
yeah,
And if you create something over the span of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, if you create something that you can look back on and be immensely proud of, then you've succeeded. Whether
yeah.
you've got 10 subscribers or whether you've got 100,000, you've succeeded because you can look back on something that you're immensely proud of. And I think that's important.
No, certainly, and like especially like the the last point you made as well, about not being a dick. Because yeah, you are right. Because Doctor Who Twitter or whatever it's called, there's people do express their opinions on there, and people then jump on, there's pile-ons and stuff like that, and then even with YouTube as well. Basically, wherever there's a community, there's bound to be a pile-on somewhere, but I feel like especially when you want to make content and you want to kind of build like I guess like sort of a brand for yourself, kind of just think like okay, yeah, you might want to get involved in the heat of the moment, but retrospectively that might also have an impact on you later on, as you said.
Yeah, you just be friendly with it. You don't know who's gonna like be the next big thing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It changes fast. You know what I mean? You could be doing really well one day, and then some new kid comes in making new content and does like immensely better, and you're like, "Who's this?" I was that person. I remember when I started making content, and it's not a diss because it's a completely fair statement. But I remember I was thinking, God, how must like Crispy Pro and like the Who Addicts feel when like I've come out of nowhere with content that I even don't think is as good as theirs, and they're like probably thinking, "Oh God, he's getting subscribers really quickly," and it's you always get that, and I was loving it at the time because it's great, and then there's always a couple of other YouTubers who pop up and they just sort of sail past you, and you're like, "Shit, that's
yeah,
that's what it feels like to be the people who were sort of doing this content before me, and like that's how it feels to be on the other side of it. Shit, cool. This thing always happens. It's just a case of like people get bored with stuff, and you got to kind of keep it refreshing, but also just keep to yourself. Like do what you like to do. Don't ever sell yourself short.
yeah,
People, if people can sense that you're having fun with what you make, people will come.
yeah,
Whether you don't need to be, if you're faking it, people will also be able to tell that, and over time it'll show more and more and more. You got to do it to have fun, not for immediate rewards.
yeah. Certainly, because at the end of the day, if you enjoy it, and as you said about the streaming, like once you come away from that,
Yeah.
you are going to feel better. But let's move on to something a little bit, could be controversial because
Oh,
we're going to enter the
lovely.
debate question stage. Because as we mentioned with Twitter, people put their opinions on there. There could be hot takes, people, pile on. But
Yeah.
George, I'm going to be hitting you with this question today.
Okay.
So with RTD, oh, actually, hang on. Before the question, let me do a quick disclaimer.
Oh.
The answer to this question will be marked at the end of the podcast's current season, and the winner will receive a £50 Amazon voucher
Oh wow.
because
Okay.
there's ranking on hot takes and stuff like that. I always like dishing out the controversial questions.
I like that. That's good.
I've gathered a few from Twitter
Yeah.
over the years. So anyway, let me crack on with a question. So with RTD now back as the showrunner, how long would you like to see him in that role for? But also,
Okay.
do you want him to become the head of Doctor Who, similar to Marvel's Kevin Feige?
That's a good question. That's quite layered. So Russell's a phenomenal screenwriter. And he's a phenomenal Doctor Who showrunner. He's a great fan. He knows what the fans like. He knows what they don't like, and he also knows how to do his own thing without pandering over to just what fans expect him to do, because that's boring. Is just how long do I think he's going to stay as showrunner? How long do I want him to stay as showrunner?
You can. Well, I mean, how long do you want him to? Yeah, I think that probably
want. So I would personally want him probably to be around for Ncuti's era, and then maybe the first series of the next Doctor to sort of hand it over.
Yeah.
But like Ncuti's era could be one series. Ncuti's era could be 3 series, 4 series. I don't know. But I think that like so long as it's doing well, let's keep that up. I think changing Doctors like with Russell, if it was like 2 series of Ncuti and then Russell leaves and then it's one like Ncuti's last series and it's a new head writer, I think that would affect things. It would be a bit disjointed.
Yeah.
So I think Russell's got to see that out. But I think if Russell then works with another showrunner and sort of crosses over for the next era, so it's not just a handover, but more of an active working role, that'd be kind of cool. It's as if if Russell C. Davies and Stephen Moffat worked on Series 5 together, and then Moffat went from Series 6 onwards.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, if you get what I'm saying. Do I think Russell should be in a role like Kevin Feige at Marvel? That's a good question, because it depends on the kind of creative control. I don't think he'd want to be in a role like that.
Yeah.
I think the fans would probably like him too, and I feel like I'd probably be keen on him, because I think Doctor Who does need someone in that position who is a fan of the show, but is also a professional and knows what they're doing with TV, but is able to oversee the continuity across shows, across animated stuff, across audiobooks, across spin-offs potentially. I don't think we need a Kevin Feige, but I think we need someone who is sort of like a continuity writer, advisor person.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be Russell, because I don't think he'd do it for that long. Because I think certainly. he's a very, very talented screenwriter who I still think has a hell of a lot to give to the TV industry outside of Doctor Who. So no, I don't want to see him in that role, but I think that should be something along those lines that should exist, because I think that the bigger Doctor Who grows, the more that sort of continuity needs to be in tip-top shape. And, fans know when it's annoying when something doesn't line up. We don't need references and, we don't need cameos from multiple characters to be the case, but you need something to be consistent.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah,
because as you mentioned, a really good idea, by the way, especially you listed the example with Stephen Moffat and RTD, writing Series 5 together. That would be a really cool, handing over point, but working together, because let's be honest, with classic and New Who, when there's different head writers, from one series to another, it is vastly different, and you can kind of pick it up straight away for better or for worse. And, Doctor Who does kind of need that a little bit of consistency instead of, just suddenly changing.
I'm a bit sick of whenever a Doctor regenerates or a showrunner leaves, it's sort of like, here's the new jumping on point. I get that, and it's cool, but showrunners and doctors leave frequently.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like Jodie's era was that, Jodie's era was that a little bit. But that was 2017. I mean, that's 6 years ago. Jesus, that time flies quickly.
Well, I feel old now.
Never mind then, yeah. But I think this is a really good jumping on point now. Like the 60th and Ncuti, especially from Christmas, I think will be a really good jumping on point. If Ncuti stays 2 years and then Russell leaves, I don't want it to be like another showrunner to be like, oh, this is the new jumping on point. I'm not saying I wanted Russell to work on Series 5. It's just like a kind of an example of a way to sort of go, well, that would be a really cool sort of mix of for continuity's sake, to really kind of extend that through. And if a showrunner leaves, you get disjointed stuff like if Chibnall and Russell had worked together on Power of the Doctor, for example, I think that would have been really interesting, because it would have probably transitioned a lot easier into the new era.
Yeah.
But you don't know. You don't know how these things work. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think myself or anyone else will have a good concrete answer on that. But I think Russell should stay for Shooty's era in its entirety, and then maybe one more series to hand it over to the next showrunner. And I don't think he should be in a Doctor Who Kevin Feige kind of role, but I think that role should exist to some capacity for someone. But it doesn't have to be a writer. You know what I mean? It just needs to be someone who is the figurehead of the brand.
Yeah.
You're like an executive. So maybe like Julie Gardner, for example.
Yeah.
So what Kathleen Kennedy is to Star Wars, or what Kevin Feige is to Marvel. I think that would be interesting if Doctor Who had that, especially if it's supposed to expand with Disney Plus and stuff, spin-offs. You've got audio stories anyway. Like, it would be cool if there was sort of like a consistent approval process. This is getting very boring and business and technical, but that's kind of my
but it's like very
it.
interesting, like to hear from that viewpoint as well.
Yeah,
because like at the end of the day, obviously what I asked was like purely hypothetical as well, because we don't know what the the contracts are and stuff like that. But it is always fun to speculate, especially now that Disney are added into the equation and Doctor Who is now getting a big international push. That's something that we would have never thought of years ago. But hey, it can only be a good thing regardless, because more Doctor Who fans jumping on, I feel like that is going to be terrific. But
just better promotion, more money, and I think you're completely right with Disney Plus, and I think I just feel like Russell wouldn't want to do that role, so it's pointless making him that role and then him turning it, like leaving after a year or something like that, because I feel like you need someone who knows what they're doing but isn't maybe in the sort of writer area, sort of someone who is just in charge of that sort of consistency. Not a person who's directly creatively involved with Doctor Who, but someone who's like on the outside, that mix between creative and business. Again, Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige, experienced producers, but now take a back seat.
Yeah, certainly, and well done for answering that. Those questions, because it was double barrels, but you certainly grasped it and you won me over. But obviously, I am not the deciding factor. That is down to my audience. So if you do think that George has absolutely nailed that question, and do you think that George could be onto something here with the future of Doctor Who and Russell's involvement, then let us know in the comments below, and you could be the deciding factor of if George gets a shiny new Amazon £50 voucher.
No, the power's in their hands now.
Yep, they have the power. But let's move on to the final segment of the podcast, and that is the audience questions, because I've got a couple on Twitter and a few on YouTube. So I'll go through them. So one on Twitter is a question for George. Are you making any more short films at the moment?
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. That's really took me off guard. Yeah. So if people weren't aware, I did write and direct a short film last year. It's not out publicly yet. Soon. It will be coming out soon. It's not very much like Doctor Who, so don't expect anything like that. It's very much more of a sort of serious kind of personal drama based story. Very happy with it. Very excited to get it out. I'm writing. I'm always writing, but we're not at the point of making anything quite yet. But I reckon early next year, my aim is to have shot another short film which I've directed. So we've got ideas, and the ideas I'll say are very exciting, and I'm very excited about. But we're not in a position yet to sort of start screaming about it and hyping it up. But I'll probably talk about it on Twitter when it comes to stuff like maybe fundraising for it or anything along those lines. I'll probably be talking about it on there. But yes, there are plans too. That is my passion at the end of the day, is to write and to some extent direct as well. So that's super exciting. But yeah.
Oh, very cool. I certainly can't wait to see the one that you've currently got on the go. I think I'll be very interested and a bit more of a serious project as well. Really love to see that.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
But let's move on to the next question. And this is from Time Lord 2023. What do you think the future of Doctor Who holds?
That's a really good, nice, vague question for me to waffle on about.
Yes, let's go.
The future of Doctor Who, what does it hold? I think the future of Doctor Who is bright. I really do. I think like look, I was very vocal about the fact that I quite liked the Jodie Whittaker era. I kind of fell a bit more out of love with it as the era ended. And I'm not one of these people who think that Tennant coming back is this big saving grace. I think the saving grace is Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah.
I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I think someone of that level of sort of stardom, one of the leads in a long running popular Netflix series, amongst many other things. Not to mention his amazing like charisma and personality on the day to day. Anyway, every interview I've seen of him is so fascinating and interesting. I think the future of the show is bright. We've got obviously Tennant and Tate coming back this year. It's a great gateway for people who remember that era to come back in and watch the show again for the 60th. And then from Christmas onwards, we'll see a brand new Doctor, known by the world, a Doctor who's on social media as well. That'll help things. And I think there's a really talented writing team behind it. Moving to Bad Wolf Productions, there's a lot more space for interior sets, like a massive amount of space, like an unbelievable amount of space, honestly, and a lot more money going into it. Just signed a Disney Plus deal. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exciting things about the future of the show, whether it's behind the scenes in terms of Disney, in terms of Bad Wolf, in terms of the production value and the money, or whether it's in front of the camera, like Ncuti Gatwa, Millie Gibson. There's a lot going on that's very exciting. And I see the next few years with Doctor Who fans being really nice. And I'm hoping it'll be really good. That's the bottom line is I'm hoping it'll be incredible. I don't think it'll be nostalgia focused like everyone might assume. It's like, oh, Russell's coming back, David Tennant, it's going to take me right back to watching it when I was a kid. It's never going to take you back to when you were a kid, because it's never going to be exactly the same. Doctor Who's about change. It should be, and it's going to keep growing and getting better and better and better. And if you don't like this era, then the next one might be for you. It's always the way Doctor Who's worked, and it's what makes it such a fantastic long running show. I think the future's bright.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a fantastic answer. And the next question is from Wally Club 4001. If you was asked to make a cameo in Doctor Who, what would your character be called?
Oh, right. Okay, I was going to say, I thought the question was going to be, if you were asked to be a cameo in Doctor Who, would you say yes? I was going to be like, yeah, obviously. What would I want my character to be? Oh my God, that's a weird one. Because I don't know what I'd say to that. Because part of me would want to be like a monster.
Yeah.
Can I be like the Absorbaloff's like younger brother or something? Can I just be like northern and just green and run around? That'd be great. No, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if I was going to cameo in it and I got like a line or two, I'd probably want to just be very confused about something that's going on.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to be killed by a monster. I'd like to be shot by a Dalek. That's what I'd like to be. Or turned into a Cyberman. So then whenever I watch Doctor Who story in the future with Cybermen and that, and go, that's me, even though it's not. I'm like, that is canonically, that's my character.
Yeah, I mean that's completely fair, especially getting killed by a Dalek, and just seeing your
cool.
body getting getting like the skeleton effect.
There's something about. I mean, when I visited the set a few years ago, like for Revolution of the Daleks, and seeing the remote control reconnaissance like Daleks, the sort of black ones, like the sleek ones.
Yeah.
There's something very weird about seeing a Dalek just come to life and like move around by itself and then like attack someone.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like, yeah, I think if I was cameoing in Doctor Who, I'd want to be shot by a Dalek in a very brutal way.
No, I mean that is like the perfect cameo.
What a legacy,
yeah, you never know, like the way you end up going. Like I don't know if you have like a very dramatic, screaming death.
I'm thinking like cliff face, like shot falling into the water, dramatic slow motion, Murray Gold music.
Oh mate, you never know. You can make it onto a Doctor Who meme page. You never know.
I'd love that.
But for the final question from my audience, who's your favorite companion and who's your least favorite? So again, throwing you in the deep end here,
Okay,
George.
yeah, okay. Oh, least favorite. That's okay. Well, I do have a least favorite, but I feel bad saying it. I'll start with the favorite if I can think of one. I think there's so many companions that I love in Doctor Who. Obviously, a lot of the modern Who ones appeal to me the most. Donna's obviously excellent, but that's a very like standard answer. I think Martha's also an incredible companion,
Yeah.
very like layered character, um, and gets overlooked by the Doctor. That's something we haven't seen as a dynamic before or since, and I like that. Um, I think Amy Pond is great as well.
Yeah.
I think she's a character who, again, that I loved seeing in that era and that really resonated with a little bit. Even though I grew up with Tennant, like that first few series from Matt Smith was class, and that character of Amy Pond was great. That whole dynamic between her and the Doctor was excellent. Least favorite.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Another spicy one.
Like, okay, we're not. I'm not including classic companions because I haven't seen them all.
Yeah.
So we can rule that out. So we're looking at New Who companions, and you have to be completely fair. There are a lot of great New Who companions.
Yeah.
I think for me, it just has to be Ryan. Now, I like Tussin Cole's a nice guy, and
Yeah.
he put like a good amount of work into it, and the character has some really interesting points throughout series 11 and 12. I just I don't know. I just felt there was something missing,
Yeah.
and I was a bit sort of disappointed with that. I think Bradley Walsh got a lot to do emotionally, and I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and
Certainly.
I probably would have said yes if she hadn't had that extra series with Flux and had a bit more of an arc, and a lot of the whole stuff with the relationship between her and the Doctor as well. So there's a lot there. With Ryan, I felt like there was something but nothing.
Yeah.
You had the like dyspraxia stuff, which was important, but then it didn't really, what I mean? It didn't really go like anywhere that I was hoping it would. I was hoping it would have a big impact on his growth as a character.
Yeah.
A lot of people take the piss out of the series 12 arc with him, like at the beginning, and he misses a basketball hoop, and then at the end of the series, he makes throws a circular bomb at the
Yeah.
Cybermen, and it's that sort of thing where I'm like, if that's the arc, then I can't rank that above any of the other companions for me.
Yeah. Certainly.
So yeah, probably Ryan's probably my least favorite. Breaks my heart to say, but I probably is Ryan.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same, to be honest. And it's a shame because Series 11, I really did like Ryan,
Yeah,
and especially with
I
the
love Series 11.
dyspraxia stuff and the stuff with his dad as well, which
Yeah,
I thought was a really, good
really good.
storyline to have. But then Series 12, I feel like Ryan especially became a victim of like, the fact that, yeah, there's three companions in the TARDIS. You got the Doctor, and then you got, all the, like Captain Jack coming back, the Master, a new
There's
Doctor.
too much going on.
Yeah,
There's too much going on, and Ryan had his share of stuff in Series 11, so it almost felt like the writers kind of went, okay, well, we've done that now. He's had his story arc done. He's just sort of there for the ride now, and that's not always how it works.
Yeah.
With Amy Pond, you had that stuff about the girl who waited all the way through series 5, but she didn't take a back seat in series 6 so Rory could take the spotlight. You know what I mean? It was still a balanced act, and they were still both very important and still very compelling characters. I just think for me it's incomparable, really. But yeah.
Certainly does. But I mean, hopefully, maybe in the future, Big Finish might pick up Ryan, or
They probably will. They probably
Yeah.
will. They'll probably give them like a like 10 box sets. The
And,
Ryan Sinclair Fish and Chip Adventures.
let's start a petition now. Let's go.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much, George, for coming on the podcast today. It really does mean a lot to have you here. Especially having one of the Doctor Who YouTuber veterans as well. On the scene.
Oh, I've become a veteran now. That's sad.
But it has been a delight, hearing about obviously the origins of your YouTube channel. Your rebranding to streaming and stuff, and talking about games and stuff like that. It has been really cool. And obviously your answer to the debate question, which by the way, audience members, please do vote kindly for George, because he did put a lot of effort into that very juicy, controversial question. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, click that like button and subscribe for more podcast episodes, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye for now.
Bye.